Alright, lesson 5.5. Yesterday we reviewed the majority of PEMDAS. In other words, we did the addition, subtraction, which were like students, the multiplication, division, which was like teachers, and the E, which was like your assistant principals and guidance deans. Today we're going to look at the last piece and discuss how it fits into what we already know. So far we should be able to make good decisions on this problem. We should be able to look at it and recognize that that's a lower level part that gets ignored. That is a teacher, but there is an administrator here, which means again the exponent goes first before everything else. Again, that means take 2 times itself, which turns it into a 4, and so we rewrite. Again, this is really the hardest part of the work. That turns into a 4, and then copy the rest. And now that the exponents are gone, we look for the first multiplication or division symbol, which is here. Again, we look for the first multiplication or division, which is here. And the last thing we do, because these are all addition, subtraction, remember you work front to back and feed the student that is in line first. And so that is where we are so far. The highest level of order of operations is parentheses. In our lunch line situation, consider the parentheses to be our principal. From what I know, just in my common sense, I would think that Mr. Trigg, our principal, can cut in front of anyone he chooses to cut in front of. So parentheses works the same way. The trick to this is making sure you recognize what a parentheses situation looks like. This is not a parentheses situation. The reason it's not a parentheses situation is because there's nothing on the inside. Alright, it's just 8 times 3, which is just multiplication, not a parentheses. This is a parentheses situation because when you look inside the parentheses, there's actually something that can change. Again, going back to this, that's always going to be a 3. So that's really not a parentheses. This will turn into a 7, which means it is a parentheses situation. Again, looking at this situation, I know the first thing you want to do is 3 times 3, but that's not it because that is multiplication. This is nothing inside, which means that this is not a parentheses situation. Remember, from what we've done, we did this first and then the multiplication second, and then of course this is a parentheses situation because it has something to actually be done on the inside. Pretty much what a parentheses does is it says focus on the work inside of here first and then move on to something else. Since there's no work to be done, that's not a parentheses. Since there's no work to be done, again on the inside that is, there's no work to be done inside of here, there's no work to be done inside of here. Those two situations do not represent parentheses situations, so you've got to make sure you stay careful on that. But notice how the parentheses portions actually have a decision to be made. If there is no decision, again it's kind of repetitive, but I want to make sure it sticks, then it does not represent a parentheses situation. Again, if there's no decision to make on the inside of your parentheses, then it does not represent a parentheses. When working out your parentheses step, ignore everything outside and just, as you take your steps and choose whatever is there. So, looking at my examples, again, copy these down because these are all the things that are going to be in your homework, as usual. Again, the first thing I notice is that there is a parentheses, and there's actually choices. So I don't care about anything else. I am looking only at this. 10 minus 5 obviously turns into 5. So rewrite the 4 on the outside, turn this into a 5, and rewrite the squared on the outside. Now I make my decision. That is multiplication, that is an exponent. Who goes first? Hopefully you recognize the exponent goes first. And so you're going to do 5 times 5, which is 25. And the last thing you do is 4 times 25. And from what I know, 4 quarters is $1. So that would be 100. Again, on all these questions for order of operations, you are expected to show all of your steps. So make sure you're copying down the notes, because I programmed these so that you actually have to show each and every step instead of just telling me the answer. Looking at B, again, first thing I notice, there's parentheses and there's a decision to make, so we focus only on this. So as we focus on this, what I see is that we have an addition symbol and an exponent. So who would go first? Obviously is the exponent, so we're going to do 3 times 3, which is 9. So rewrite the 5, rewrite the 2 and the plus, turn this into a 9. Again, there are parentheses here, so we focus only on the parentheses. 2 plus 9 turns into 11. And the last thing we do is 5 times 11, which is 55. Again, decision-wise, should be easy enough because parentheses just tells us to use the order of operations inside the parentheses the same way as we normally would and go from there. One of the toughest questions you're going to see is this one, so just make sure you're ready for it. But again, the key thing is you see a parentheses, ignore everything else, make your decision. Well, what I see is a subtraction sign and an exponent, and so the exponent obviously goes first, and 2 times 2, because remember that's 2 squared, is 4. So it becomes 8 plus 2 parentheses, 4 minus 4 minus 3. Again, we have a parentheses situation here. 4 minus 4 is going to turn into a 0. From there, again, we do not do 8 plus 2. We don't do anything minus 3. There's a multiplication here. Remember, that's multiplication, not a parentheses. Anything times 0 is itself, or sorry, is 0. If I have if I have nothing and multiply it or double it, I still have nothing. So 8 plus 0 minus 3. And now that all we have is addition, subtraction, go front to back. 8 plus 0 is 8. 8 minus 3 is 5. And that represents our final answer. Again, as long as you had your review under control, as long as you learned how to do the EMDAS, I think adding parentheses is pretty easy to do. You just have to make sure that, again, you're showing discipline and that you're not trying to rush through. That's typically where everybody bumps into issues. Again, once again, we have parentheses here. Inside that parentheses, we must make the decision. We have subtraction and multiplication. Which one's the higher level is multiplication. So rewrite everything else. That would be 6. Once again, we have parentheses, so focus only on the parentheses and make your choice. 7 minus 6 turns into 1. Now we make our decision based off of the higher level operation, which again is multiplication. And because there's nothing but addition, subtraction, work front to back and wrap up your question. Alright. This represents your complete introduction to the order of operations. Again, many people teach it different ways. Unfortunately, again, it's not their fault because, you know, some things aren't stressed, but some people even teach it incorrectly. I don't know if you've seen the Facebook things where they put up some silly question and say nobody gets it right because that's how confusing math is. Don't fall for that stuff. It's really not confusing. It's just the fact that so many people overlook those details of what's going on. To me, the lunch line concept may seem like a Sesame Street way to approach it, but it helped me to make 100% of my decisions correctly all the time. So for me, if I just look at it as, you know, you have a parentheses, so work that out. Now I'm looking for the exponents, which are like my administrators. Now I'm looking for any multiplication or division and feed the first person in line that's there. Don't, you know, jump over anybody. And then addition, subtraction, again, work in order. Everything just kind of has worked out for me. So just remember to slow down. Don't look at all the operations at once. Just focus on one and the one that you're supposed to work out, and then carefully, you know, rewrite, and then just repeat it. So again, speak up again if you're having issues, and good luck. Your test is tomorrow, so make sure you log on and do all that. I believe your homework probably has review from everything that's on it. So again, if you can do everything on the test, you should be able to do everything. If you can do everything on the homework, you should be able to do everything on the test. But again, just speak up if you need anything, and good luck.